I think we have a solid team to beat the Moroccans.
Let's see how we're going to separate the situation as it is with Andre, because in the last years between these two sides at the AFCON, it's been evenly balanced. A win apiece and a draw in the middle. So somehow something has to give in this particular clash.
Yeah, I think the two teams that seem to have each other's numbers, especially in tournament competition and that type of thing as well. But when we just unpack them a little bit quickly in terms of what they look like from a tactical perspective and the formations that they're lining up. So people spoke about that solid defense that Morocco has in terms of not conceding at will, that type of thing. But for me today, and I want to get the views of the guys here, is when we look at the heartbeat of perhaps this Ghanaian side, and we look at these two players operating roles in there. Now, what we think they might be doing here is to maybe run the channels, run the channels there, in there, run the channels in there, run the channels in there. And what that will do is, and I think we might see them going from a 4-4-2 to this guy, just coming through the center there, helping them out also from that perspective. Now, Simpiwe, what do you think about the pressure that particular approach puts on the defense of that Moroccan side if they do that?
I think the numbers will be evenly matched, because it means the Moroccans will have numerical superiority, because it will be 3 versus 2, with Hakim, Massina and Agret there against Ayew. And you know that Jordan usually likes staying up top, and Dede is the one that always drops into that midfield a bit. So which means he needs to make sure it's always a 3v2, so that Massina doesn't have enough time to cover either a 1v1 between Ayew and Agret, or a 1v1 between Hakim and Ayew. And that means they need to be really compact. That is Hakim, Massina and Agüero, to make sure that they don't allow them defense splitting passes or even 1v1 for them to take shots at goal. So it will be key to make sure that tactically they are aware and they anticipate either the long ball that goes behind, because we know that Jordan loves running more than Dede. So that's the variety and the challenges that they will face against the two strikers of Ghana.
All right. You're still going to take us through what to expect also, Andre, with how this Moroccan side will look like offensively.
Yeah, so you can see in the makeup of this particular guys just operating, when you look at them, so the 3-4-3 will say to you that they're looking to play with a wing back, so that's going to be critical for them. That's going to be critical for them as well. But it's their work rate in terms of turning attack into defense also, when you've got the likes of them doing that and that you might see that happening from the perspective of defending and getting numbers behind it as well. What other roles do you think, Asma, making up the numbers, and you've got them making runs in there? Buffal is the one that will also get in between them there. Just in terms of their setup, are you looking for them to get nice and compact and narrow from a defensive perspective as well?
Yeah, I think defensively, that is what we should think about. We have to be more solid defensively, although we've got a lot of fast wingers, and a clinical finisher like Andre Ayew, who is very, very good with the head, So I think we have to, talking about the wings, we have to drop back and then make sure we track them down so we can play on the counter-attack, because we've got very, very fast wingers. And then when you have these two midfielders, Thomas Partey and Drisu, they're very good passer of the ball. They have the IQ, So when we track them down, I think they might shot in front of our goal, and then we can use the flanks to counter them on the flanks, because we've got a lot of fast players on the flanks. And I think if we more focus on pushing the ball on the flanks, I think we've got the chance of winning.
Now, as it stands with these two sides, Simpiwe, look, you look at the group that's got Comoros, Gabon, Ghana, Morocco. On paper, Morocco, Gabon, Ghana should progress out of that group. But for some weird reason, it seems as though there's like a mental block whenever it gets into the... I mean, we almost saw the situation with Senegal and Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe always running away with a point. But then when you have the quality in that team like these Moroccans have got, you will expect them to go further than they've got. Since 2004 that they were in the finals, they haven't gone past the quarterfinals, this Moroccan side. And it begs the question, what exactly is it the AFCON that is the issue? Do you understand? Because they have dominated the Arab Cup. They just lost their title a couple of months back, where Algeria, the eventual winners, knocked them out in the quarterfinals. It looks as though when it's in that zone, they dominate. But then when it comes to the AFCON, it's a whole different story.
It's a whole different story, you know, which is quite interesting because North African teams have dominated taking the title of the AFCON. And if you look at this Moroccan team, right now, they've got different players that an infusion of younger and older players, but there isn't too many older players in the team, which means the coach is trying to make sure that there's more energy to play. There's understanding in tactics. There's understanding also the technique. Because if you look at these players, it's players that are playing week in, week out in their different clubs, which means technically, tactically, they're away. And with this formation, a 3-4-3, it means the coach is aware that technically these players will be able to fold off and they'll be able to say, let's go pound to pound. And I like his approach because it means he has more players going forward in attack and in defense. The transitions is what we are looking to see. How will he be able to go against the fullbacks and the wingers of Ghana? Because there will be spaces there when the fullbacks push up. Will they be pushing up at the same time or one at a time, depending on where the ball is and their tactical approach? Because it's key for them to be tactically disciplined. And I mean, numbers might not mean anything or might mean everything, because if you look at their tally coming into this tournament, they've scored 10 goals, which means they're able to score goals, they're able to defend those goals. It means they've got different players that are able to carry a goal on their feet. Bofal is one of them that is able to go, you know, like Andre showed. He's able to go into the different pockets behind players. He's able to drop off, let others go forward, and then understand the game to go forward. But I think I'm looking at it and I'm saying it's just a mental thing that they have to, you know, come across, go in between, I don't know, lack of a better word, but they just need to jump this hurdle and make sure they go through and compete and show us that really North Africa is superior.
Andre, Vahid Halilhodzic decided to drop Hakim Ziyech, saying he's got a disruptive influence over the team and as such cannot be part of the party to Cameroon 2021. And he more or less has stated very firmly how he wants this thing to be and will not condone any indiscipline.
And you're talking about a world-class player who leaves a big gap when he's not playing for this team or he's not selected. And it just shows you that he's a coach who's big on sending the right message. And if you don't fall in line, you're going to suffer the consequences. So he's all about the team. The problem is, if you win the game, then it works. If you don't win the game, it'll come back to you as a coach. So it's a bit of a gamble for me, but I'd like to see what happens in the game without him.
All right, I'm interested in what that very shortly. We got Charles and Nazado outside the Stade Amadou Ahidjo Stadium, and of course, let's hear what's going down and what's the mood like as we prepare for this fixture.
That's the Amadou Ahidjo Stadium here in Cameroon, home of the Cameroonian national team. That stadium was built back in 1972, renovated in 2016 for the Africa Women's Cup of Nations. And here we are today for the 2021 edition of the Africa Cup of Nations. And we are on the streets right here in Yaoundé in Cameroon. We're looking forward to the Group C encounter, the very first here at this stadium. It's Morocco up against Ghana. And as far as history goes between these two sides, Ghana always have an uphill task against the Moroccan national team. Now the people are right here on the streets and they are blaring their horns in anticipation of what a good game this is going to turn out to be. I can tell you that security is really tight here at the Amadou Ahidjo Stadium in Cameroon. You cannot get into the stadium if you do not have your vaccination card and of course proof of your PCR test as well, which is what we have, and we are going to gain access into the stadium a little bit later. But it's absolutely an electric atmosphere right here in Yaoundé, all in anticipation of this particular fixture between two giants of African football, Morocco and of course Ghana. Now what we did also was get the predictions of the fans who have turned out here in very small numbers, but ultimately looking forward to a great game. And here are those predictions.
Well, this is what the lineup is looking like. And yes, Asimpiwe has said, look, it will be very, very tight. And yes, Morocco do keep it tight at the back. And hence why we need to see them go beyond the quarterfinals if they dare do. They got the quality and there's the depth in squad. Ashraf Hakimi, well, we've been seeing how he's moving around. Key fixture for them in that particular instance. And of course, the Wolves man, Roman Saiz. Daniel Amate, well, we love him at Leicester City, no doubt. But then can he actually continue with that great influence he's had in there into this particular fixture? Simple way, prediction. I know you're wearing red already for Morocco, so but then we'd like to know. What do you think?
2-2.
2-2?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I don't know if you know this, but in my record on SuperSport here, I've never, ever ended up without a score draw, so without a barring draw. So it's good you said 2-2. Young man, Baby Jet himself.
This is a difficult one. I'm a Ghanaian, of course, I'm rooting for my country. I think Ghana will come out with a narrow win. I'm not going to say the scores. A narrow win is a narrow win, so we'll see.
Dumpity. Anyway, Andre?
Yeah. I'm expecting a high-energy game. It's later in the day, so that's bound to happen. There's lots of quality between these two teams. We spoke about Morocco's defensive structure, very strong. But I think Ghana have got enough to break it down. 1-0 to Ghana. 1-0
to Ghana. I think this game will be very, very tactical, as both teams will basically be watching themselves with every eye on the ball going into this fixture. But then the other one we're looking at for Group B will be Guinea against Malawi. And as Guinea are starting off, this is what the lineup is looking like. Simpiwe, Naby Keita is the man that has everything to do in driving this team to success.
Yeah, he has everything to do with driving this team, to success. But the beauty of this game is that it doesn't matter where you play. Are you ready for the occasion? The M team, it's what's important. Technicality comes in, especially when players are starting to get tired. Then that's where you see you need the discipline. And that's where you get to see if a player is playing overseas in a great team, they're able to infuse the energy and the experience to the other players in the team. Because if you're looking at this Malawi team, for example, they only have one player that plays in Moldova. Everyone else plays in Africa. So the wealth of experience they have is the African experience that they have, And if you compare them to the Guinea team, they have a variety of players that are playing overseas in Guinea as well. So it will be interesting to see who is superior in terms of executing their roles. And execution of roles is going to be a key thing for me in this tournament, because how often do you produce quality actions at critical moments of the game? That's important for me.
Andre, consistency is a key language for you. We've seen this Guinean side at the AFCON 13 times. Even though they've not gone past the quarterfinal stage, but then it puts them in good stead to actually progress ahead of Malawi. They've only managed, this is only their third appearance, first being in 1984, and then the next one was in 2010. Took them 12 years before they actually qualified for this one. We're not sure if it's going to be another 15 years before we see them again, but that consistency is necessary if you need to show any form of contention at AFCON.
Lots of experience in this particular game, especially from a Guinea perspective. They know how to negotiate Nations Cups, and I think from that perspective, they might just have too much for a Malawi side. I'm looking at the midfield battles tonight, and for me, Keita, Diawara, and Kamara, those ones are going to be key in that particular battle. Roma, Olympiacos, Liverpool, big clubs there. So lots of experience, and I think that's where it will be won perhaps for that midfield battle.
Well, it was basically an imbalance. It looked imbalanced when we saw Senegal, Zimbabwe. But then Zimbabwe held there until the very end. Who says Malawi cannot do the same against this very highly rated Guinean side, Asamoah?
I think Andre said it. The key going to this game is much experience. When you talk about this Guinean team, we've got Naby Keita, who hasn't done enough for Liverpool this season. He was battling injuries, but you cannot write him off. I think he's a center of attraction when it comes to this game, and he plays a huge role. I think they've got one striker, Mohamed Bayo, who has scored 9 so far for his club. So coming to this tournament, he's got the confidence. The confidence level is very, very high. I'm a striker. He's a striker. When you score consistently, you're not scared of anyone. So coming there, I think they are the favorites of this match. But you cannot write the Malawins of this game. They've got players who are playing in the South African League. South Africa has got one of the best leagues in Africa. So you cannot write them off. You know, so this game is going to be a bit tricky. You know, experience-wise, the Guineans are ahead, but they are here for a reason. The Malawians are here for a reason. So they cannot qualify to an African Cup of Nations without having good players. You know, so that is the tricky one right there. Guineans are the favorite, but you cannot write off the Malawians. They can pull up an upset.
I hear you very clearly. I mean, aside from personally wanting to put yourself out there, show that you're a big boy, you know, of course, you know you want to bam. You always want to chill with the big boys. Very importantly is the fact that the military president of Guinea has said you either come with the trophy or you return whatever money has been invested. So that basically will be in their mind, and we hope we'll not be seeing some craziness coming through there. But Simpiwe, where do you see the pendulum swinging in this particular fixture?
I think the experience of Guinea would push them to take this one. Probably it's a tournament, and Jeta's in the first match. So, yeah, I'll give 2-1 to Guinea.
2-1. Asamoah?
Of course, Guinea is going to win, but I will go for 2-0.
2-0, yeah. Keeping a clean sheet. Andre?
Yeah, I think we spoke about that experience. I think they might have too much for Malawi. You know, you're looking at a Malawi team has only scored 4 goals in their 6 you know, qualifiers. It's the lowest of all the teams here, so they're going to struggle in that particular area. I think 3-1 to Guinea.
3-1. We're seeing a high scoring situation. That will be the most goals we've seen in AFCON if that happens. But you know what? I do have a present for you if that prediction comes true. If it doesn't, you know what's in my pocket, right? we'll see how all of that turns out. But no doubt, I think it'll be a great run out. Like I said, we've got 2 fixtures coming back to back. Well, basically coming simultaneously to you. It's a Group B fixture with Guinea against Malawi. Yes, they definitely want to do everything for the bragging rights, for the maximum points, and of course not to upset the military president back home. But most importantly, Morocco-Ghana, it's a massive, crazy fixture. And we all can't wait to basically test the delicacy that has to offer. 33rd installment of the Total Energies AFCON. Let's head off straight to the Stade Ahidjo Stadium, see how the action is going down.
At the minute, BJ, I have to say, the Ashes are under a huge threat.
The general consensus from the public was always cricketers, they're overpaid, they're whinging, they had to spend time in a bio bubble, so what?